Paul Markle was saying that soldiers always have ND issues because they are so used to having unloaded weapons that they don't treat loaded guns as if they are loaded. So that kind of just puts us right into it. I think that's a perfect segue to start talking about the dangers of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dangers of safety and safety overload, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the first thing I'll do, or that I think we should do, is have Shelton. Are you ready with that stuff? Ready to go? So we're gonna flash up a graphic here, guys. Boom. Like, all right, what's important? How do I stay safe at this range?
Well,
right?
the red words are obviously important, right?
Yeah.
All times forward of the yellow line. Got it.
Yep.
Easy.
Right? So first of all, there is like psychology behind like lists over 5 items.
Right.
People are just gonna kind of scan after they hit number 5, like, I'm done. How much of the Apple terms and conditions do you read before you click accept? You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just such a big document. You get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm done reading this. Especially, go back to the yellow one. Let's see what the first 5 things that they have are. The range officer is in charge. Like,
at all times.
Duh, he works here, right? Like,
Right.
why do we need to have that written? Please uncase and unholster all firearms forward of the yellow line. Okay. No food, drink, tobacco on the range. No more than 2 uncased firearms on the table at a time, right? Is that 4?
That was 4, yeah.
So if we read their first 4 things, there's not a single thing in there
About safety.
that keeps somebody safe with
Yeah.
a firearm in their hands, right? Like, not a single bit of it.
Yep. It's number 5. All firearms must be pointed down range at all times before they even start getting close
Yeah,
to actually helping people.
right. And when you start talking about food and drink, and it's like, I wouldn't get past that, you know? Like,
No.
we're talking about food and drink. That
Right.
what does that have to do with? How important is that, right?
Now, like, on top of the overload, you also think about typically people only remember the last thing that you like. That's the one that's going to have the strongest impression,
Okay.
right? So if you only make it to 4, the last thing you remember was what? No food and drink, right? Like, like what? And then even if you make it all the way through the list, the last one was no flip-flops or low-cut tops allowed on the range, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be like, yeah, I didn't wear my flip-flops, I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't bring any food with me. I'm not wearing flip-flops.
Yep,
I might as well just point my gun at everybody.
that's right.
Like, must be pointed down range at all times. I don't even think that comes close to a muzzle orientation explanation.
No.
Pointed, what part of it needs to be pointed? Like, somebody may not know these rules, right?
Right.
Also, another thing wrong with something like this, like, go ahead, Shelton, throw the other one up. If we start reading through this, there's no real hierarchy in terms of importance, right? So, like, I didn't cross the yellow line, but I did grab that gun by the trigger.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, it was pointing down there. I went to pick it up. Like,
Yep.
you know? So there's no hierarchy of importance. I think that is very, very dangerous in having safety rules listed like this. What are theirs? They're worried about you signing in and reading the waiver in the cash register. Eye and ear protection. Okay.
There you go.
But not a bad idea.
No. But then again, it's okay. So we can get into the difference between safety and range rules, but yeah. So not a safety thing though. That's just like for them, it's a liability thing,
right?
But, you know, like, yeah, you probably want to protect your hearing and stuff like that, you know. But no hierarchy there. I mean, the number 14 is just as important as fucking number 3 on this list, you know?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and whatever those things are, I mean, again, people are going to remember the last thing, or more likely to remember the last thing that was said to them or read to them. And, I mean, you got to kind of give people a clue, like guide them on this path.
Yeah, like it says Iron Ear protection number 3. Then there's also a huge yellow caution about Iron Ear protection. So is this extra redundancy? Maybe we could take that yellow and put some actual firearm safety rules there. Right. And you'll see signs like this at indoor ranges or public ranges that are huge. We've got red at the top, you know, the yellow down at the bottom. And then somewhere on the range, there might be like the Cooper or universal safety rules.
Little metal sign.
Yeah.
Right? Like
a little one somewhere.
Worn out because they haven't replaced it or checked on it in a long time. Yeah. I think that when you start talking about the hierarchy of importance, that's something that I really liked from Tom Given's class, and we actually talked about it on the range during Fast and Accurate. You know, he's like, if 4, because he goes over the 4 firearm safety rules. He's like, if 4 is too many to remember, just remember trigger discipline and muzzle discipline, right? And he, you know, he's got more to it than just that. But I mean, to even be able to take the 4 and be like, listen, there's 4 that are super like omnipotent, omnidirectional, all that stuff, right? Yeah. And then these 2 on top of those 4, like just like if all you can remember is this, remember this. So to add a hierarchy even to that, I think it's something that people don't talk about enough. Yeah.
And I mean, they took it from the 1.
Yeah.
They added 3 on top of that 1 just for the redundant fail safes, right? So, you know, if any one at any given time, like nothing catastrophic can really happen. Yeah. You start getting 2 of them, 2 out of 4 wrong, is when bad things could potentially start happening. Like 3, you're probably about to have a trip to the hospital. Right. But another thing with having such long lists, right, is that mental bandwidth. Yeah. That's being taken up. Like, it's a stressful thing for some people to shoot guns, and under stress, our mental bandwidth goes way down. Right. So there are people coming into a stressful situation. Do you want to really overload them with that much stuff that they're worried about the food and drink and flip-flops and yellow line? They're looking down at the yellow line as they're blasting around off. You know what I mean? Like, am I behind it? Oh, yeah, it's over there. Pow! Yeah. Like, that's probably not what you want running through their head, you know, or they shoot a rifle for the first time and they take a step back and they get scared like the yellow line's going to bite them. Right. And then they do something stupid with this death ray in their hands. Exactly. Right? You talk about the mental bandwidth, that's in a stressful situation. This is a chill, relaxed environment, and if we asked anybody in the chat room right now, or me, what was number 3 on that first list we looked at? That we read the first 4, you know? Like, I remember flip-flops, and that was the one that was at the bottom. At the end. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Something about food. I don't know if that was number 3, but it's like, you know, like just in this situation right here. Yeah. I mean, now imagine you're putting somebody who potentially, this could be their first time on the range, right? This could be their first time shooting a gun. They could be using the renting system that a lot of places have and stuff like that, or it's their first time in a class. You know, because like a very competent gun handler, right? Somebody who's comfortable around guns and has been using them and dealing with them in their hands is not really who that sign is posted for, right? So with that, they might be new in mind, right? Like, have you ever golfed before?
No, I haven't.
All right. So if we went out to the golf course and I was like, all right, Joey, here's the thing. First hole, we're going to use the driver off the tee. With the driver, you need to line the ball up on your left heel, right? Make sure with the driver, you want to get a little bit of a gap between this finger and that finger on your grip, right? Right. You want to hit it on the way up a bit, right? But then with the 7-iron, you're going to be hitting down onto it. But don't worry about that yet, because this is the driver. So make sure you transfer your weight. You want to rotate the hips, but don't move the hips, right?
Right.
Would I be better off, like, maybe putting a different club in your hand and being like, hey, try and hit it, like, keep the club straight as it comes through the ball. Give you that one thing to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit easier when you're doing something new. So don't throw I'm not going to throw flip-flops and, like, if you have spikes on your left foot and, all that kind of stuff at you the first time you play golf, right? It's a new thing. Let's get into it piece by piece.
Absolutely.
It makes things more enjoyable, as well as, I think, leads to what the goal of these lists are, which is actual safety, not the appearance of or the illusion of safety.
Yeah, for sure. The next one we have on here is I should have read this before. Competition safety measures lead to real world dangerous situations. And so you were telling me a bit about how this one came about earlier. And
competition safety rules gets into a whole other silly can of worms. Like, they'll put cones on the ground and be like, this is the safe area. You can come over here and play with your guns. And it's like, so over here, no, but over there, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. At this one table, it's a safe zone. And it's like, you people are crazy.
My story is kind of the opposite of yours, but I was in a class, and we were kind of helping coach these other students. And this guy had this habit, and it took me forever to figure out what he was doing. So every time he would get done shooting, he was shooting some gun with a safety on it, some pistol, right? Safety would come on, and then he would touch the trigger. And I said, hey, man, what's your trigger finger, right? I probably said that to this guy like 6 times. And then it didn't dawn on me until the end of the day that I think that he was putting his safety on and then checking to make sure that it was engaged.
That's definitely what he was doing. That's incredible. That's awesome.
That's so crazy to me.
Safety check.
I was like, we were driving back to the hotel, and I was like, fuck, that's what he was doing.
Well, so sarcasm to follow. When you do a safety check, the reason is because if you're about to do a bore peep, you want to make sure that your bore peep doesn't have a chance, right?
I forgot all about the bore peep. Why didn't I think of that?
But we had an incident in class where, well, before we go there, we'll go Tarantino back in time. Right? Some may not know, but competition, unload, show clear. They unload the gun after a course of fire. They'll show the empty chamber. In agreement with the range safety officer. He'll say, go ahead, send the slide forward and press the trigger or drop the hammer, right? So you do that, or if you're in the flow of it, they just do it quick for show and then either sizzle one off or get a click. But they do it kind of quick, but you can go through the motions. That's basically it, right? So now on an AR-15, once they send that hammer, you cannot put that gun on safe. So you can't manipulate the safety. So if I showed up to the competition with my gun in a case, unloaded, right? The same way I left the last competition, with the hammer down, safety obviously can't be on. I go up to the line, right, to shoot. I load my gun under the watchful eye of the guy with the shot timer. Shoot my course of fire. Then he says, unload, show clear. Can't put the safety on. I sling my rifle, throw it over there, do whatever, right? Now, we were discussing this earlier. Like, typically, we'll have our rifle slung, and we'll be kind of fiddling with that safety, just like that's kind of my fidget thing to do. Like, positive control of the gun, it's going to be on the pistol grip. Like, who knows, may need it. And I'm just kind of continuously, like, rubbing the safety.
I do the same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, yep. It's still there. It's still on, all that stuff.
Because I'm like, what if a gremlin decided to turn my safety off?
Or on your kit, you know, stuff happens.
Same thing.
So let's just make sure it's still on. Now, at a competition, if you can't do that, right, your safety is in that other position, and everybody's got all these unloaded guns, are they kind of massaging maybe on their triggers? And maybe that becomes like an index point thing for them. Maybe they're practicing how to get the finger from outside the trigger guard into it a hundredth of a second faster. They're just working on that all day. I don't know, but we had a student come to class who was a very, very good gun handler. Like, and dude could shoot. Like, he was lights out. Like, no skill-wise, all there, right? And good on him. He was coming because he wanted some of what he heard our mindset was, right? Now, one of the other instructors was talking, giving a block of instruction. So everybody's got their ears off, and they are on the line, so spread out some. Rifles are slung, and boom! Right? Big dirt fly up in between him and the person on his other side. He owned it right away, right? But I believe that shooting competitions, because he was a pretty good 3-gun competitor. I don't know exactly his class and that kind of stuff, but he was accomplished in 3-gun. And I believe that experience built in that training scar on him. And that's what led to that. Like 100%. Like
so if we're talking about the dangers of safety, I think this is the biggest example we've got right now of being in an environment where they have to do all this extra stuff to be able to carry their gun at all, right? It gives them this illusion of safety, right? And so then here he is in our class with a loaded gun, and he has developed these habits, and he gets comfortable, right? He's like, I'm not shooting right now. So his brain, his caveman brain is like, if I'm not shooting, the gun is safe. I'm just going to do what I always do. And it can lead to these situations like that. And that's where people... That's where this actually kicks in, is when people get so complacent from what have you, unload show clear or whatever, and then they're like, they just forget, you know? That's why whenever you do your dry practice, it's like as soon as you're interrupted, restart the safety protocol, because as soon as you take that mental capacity away from thinking about the 4 firearm safety rules, your brain is just you're going to get back into muscle memory or, like myelination or whatever, you're going to just fall into those habits, and that is not a good thing.
Dude, by the way, I'm on team bring muscle memory back.
Oh, are you?
We get it, guys. Fucking brains don't have muscles. Or muscles don't have brains. Understood. Got it. Come on. Like, ooh, tomatoes are fruit. Yeah? Put it in your next fruit salad. See how the crowd loves you.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just... Words matter, right?
They do, but...
Because if we're picking teams, I'm in team UDA.
That's an invention, though. I kind of am too. It's an acronym. I don't know. He's not here to argue with. I'll give Colonel Boyd his due on that.
All right,
he gets it.
Yep.
I'll put that one with silencer. It's what they wanted.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that complacency, like you said, gun. Another one kind of leads us right into
it. Yep.
The next one, right? Like gun stores. You ever seen anybody get a gun pointed at them at a gun store?
Luckily, I have not been to a lot of gun stores, but I'll tell you where I have seen plenty of guns pointed at people at SHOT Show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like if you pick a gun up, it's so crowded that you can't help but as you're moving it like to muzzle somebody, but like you do something like this. What I'm talking about is at SHOT Show, people checking out the new optics and picking someone walking the thing and just doing this, right? Like intentionally tracking them. Yeah,
but it's cool. There are no firing pins in them, right? Like, I get it. That was like a Brian breath. I had to collect myself.
Yeah.
I get it. There should be no firing pins in them. I also understand it's impossible for me to take this gun off of this stand where it's standing here like this and like get it to look at it in like as soon as my hand touches it, it's already muzzling people. Like there's just seas of people.
Right.
But for me to grab it and go this way, like just straight through Joey's body, like 4 inches away, or like kind of try and take some kind of path to like get it over here, you know? Like we can do a little better at SHOT Show, fellas. Yeah, there was a guy I watched. I saw this happen. We came around a corner and there was a Tavor on a tripod with an LPVO on it. Someone walked away from looking at the LPVO, doing kind of what you were saying, looking kind of up above the crowd. Somebody else walked up to the rifle, right? Didn't pull the bolt back, didn't inspect it in any kind of fashion.
Right.
But immediately got on the tripod and just, I felt the tracking. And I turned, and I'm like, there are crosshairs right here. Like, I know this because I can see down his scope. And, like, I'm just like, oh, God. Like, take 3 more steps. I look, it's, like, still right there.
Ugh.
And then I hear,
oh, God.
And I was like, you motherfucker. Like, can we at least point to the ceiling when we're testing the trigger on the X95? Like... You know, it's just, and then some people or some boots like Holosun, I was like, that's such a smart idea. They had upper receivers with handguards mounted to them with no barrels. Right? I'm like, that's a very good idea for displaying an optic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But we may be getting off the safety rules. We're on to a whole different thing on SHOT Show there.
Yeah.
So, what do we got? One last one?
Yeah, last one is clearing barrels in Ds.
Yeah.
Clearing barrels.
Yeah.
I forget that these things exist.
Yeah.
You know?
There's one in Titusville. It's funny because it's pointing back into, like, the gun shop area.
Yeah.
You know? So, the downrange is that way.
Yep.
And then we're going to turn around, go across that yellow line, walk over here, point our gun like into a barrel that is basically in line with like everybody's shins who's walking in the shop.
Right.
You know? And you're supposed to press your trigger in it. First of all, why is pressing the trigger part of unloading your gun?
Dude, I know. I don't know, and I've only ever seen it once in the real world, you know. Like on the range with somebody, and just like it happened so fast. It was so crazy to me. Like you know, the dude was getting ready to put his gun back in the case and just like mag out, rack the slide, click, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why?" Like,
yeah, why did you just
like? I saw the finger.
At least you got a click.
Yeah, I know.
At least you got a click, because you know what a lot of people do at clearing barrels? Rack a round out. Pow!
Yeah.
Yep, right in it.
God,
I mean, you're giving a place for NDs to happen.
Yeah, you're saying it's okay if it happens here.
Because we want safety on the other side of this door. So go ahead, before you go through the door, take your gun out of its holster.
Point it in that direction.
And press the trigger. And then everybody's surprised when it gets really loud in there.
Yeah.
Like, here's a crazy idea. You want it, like, safe on the other side of that door. Say, like, do not take your gun out past this door.
Right.
That's one rule.
Yeah.
People can remember that.
They can remember that.
Like, oh, don't take my gun out.
Yeah.
All right.
Done.
Like, other than SIGs, right? Not many guns go off in the holster. I mean, right? They get a bad rap. There was one recently that I don't think it was the gun's fault. Like the gun wasn't in the holster,
right?
And then it got pushed in. But anyway, like a gun in a holster is going to be fairly safe.
Yeah.
Like you're asking me to take my gun out.
Yeah, drawing and reholstering, right?
Yep, drawing and reholstering.
Two most dangerous parts.
Yep.
You're going to do that. We're making you do that again.
We're going to do that. We're going to put a trigger press in the middle.
Yeah.
and just hope for the best.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And when you fuck up, you're going to be in some deep shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What's the penalty for ending in a clearing barrel in the military?
Oh.
Are you like out? Is that like, hey
oh,
man,
no,
sorry about
there's
your
no
pension?
way we wouldn't have any left.
So one of our guys will let us know on that. But yeah, you're basically inviting it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But for safety.
Listen, it's okay if it goes off here. You know, they're counting on that for the person to be able to keep the gun pointed there, and not when it goes boom, not be like, what the boom. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't trust the dude who just sizzled one off into the clearing barrel. Yeah.
Dude, it's not supposed to do that. No, I'll try again.
All right. So, again, we were kind of wanted to run through that stuff, guys, and then open the conversation up to you.
Something that's easy and concise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
Like something less than 5.
Something less than 5.
Let's give them a list of less than 5. That
could we do it? That
could probably keep people safe when around
if
firearms.
Only. I don't know, Shelton. You threw that. Oh look, he threw it together real quick for us. He was paying attention.
Look at that. Rule number 1: if you're only going to remember one.
Yep.
If you're only going to remember one, that's a good one to remember. Never point a gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. Man, those are 2 pretty good ones.
Solid.
Finger, yeah, like which is more important, 2 or 3? 3 is definitely more broken.
Right.
So maybe I'd reorder that. But here, and their graphics that they chose to illustrate this could have been maybe a little bit better.
Right.
That would have illustrated the point where even if you didn't have the words, like you've got clear 4 things to remember. Right. Like, so this is a sign that I could get behind in terms of keeping people safe.
No, for sure.